The Braves are looking elite this season. Of course, they probably are going to end up in the playoffs, but will they make it to the World Series? Well, there's some questions about their left field that we probably should address. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Touching Bases podcast. It's good to see you guys again. If you're new here, please consider hitting subscribe and also the little bell for notifications so you can find out what's happening on the next videos. Try to keep it as informational as possible across MLB. But luckily today, we're talking about the Braves, and everybody knows how amazing they're going to be this season. Almost without a doubt going to make it to the playoffs, but they have a little bit of a problem with left field, and we're not exactly sure how that's going to work out for them. Earlier this season, the Braves made a transaction with the Mariners picking up Kelenic, a very star-studded player that everybody had high hopes for, was performing pretty well in 2021 for the M's. In 22, he had a little bit of a fall off. In 23, he was pretty mediocre if you ask me. A very high strikeout rate, but he did have a lot of pop to his bat, and he was able to stay consistent with getting the hard balls hit across the field. Problem is his morale. The biggest issue with the Mariners, he always seemed to find himself getting ejected from a game or having a temper tantrum or saying something to the media or not able to control his emotions. At the very beginning of the season last year, he ended up breaking his foot after kicking a cooler out of anger, and was interviewed afterwards and found himself in tears because he felt so bad that he let the team down, given that he couldn't control his emotion. It's hard to not have questions about his mental state. Fast forward to him getting traded to the Braves in order to bring back two pitchers who have now turned out to be a complete waste of time, as they both are about to undergo Tommy John and are no longer going to be in the MLB lineup for the Mariners. A lot of people have been saying what a terrible trade it was initially, and now even more since Kelenic was such a good bat, supposedly. Personally, looking at this, the Mariners are not the subject of this matter, but they picked up Mitch Haniger and Luke Raley. I think they're going to be perfectly fine. Does it suck that they lost him? I don't know, because considering right now, Kelenic is going through spring training, and I understand we are not going to talk about spring training stats right now. I know they don't matter, but it is a preview of named guys to be playing on the opening day roster. Kelenic is slotted to be the starting left fielder at batting 8th in the lineup, where he's projected on Fangraphs to have a 242 batting average, a 318 OBP, and a 422 slugging, which sounds about on par with what he did in the last couple seasons. The thing is, as we look at how he's been performing in spring training in his first time with Atlanta in a climate that's much easier to hit a ball and make contact, and it's fair weather and it's very comfortable. He talks about how great his team is and how much better it is than the Mariners organization, which rubbed me the wrong way.
When you get the call that you're going over to the Braves, what was the first thing that went through your head?
I was ecstatic. I was super pumped. You're going to a winning atmosphere, and you know, the reputation with the Braves, from an outsider's perspective looking in, is that they do it the right way.
When you have stuff like that happen, or like the comment about 54%, the prime Babe Ruth, you're bringing unwanted, unneeded attention to the team. And then it kind of sets a form of like maybe pressure, if you want to call it that. We were not playing well the first 2 months of the season. We were off to a really bad start. We had a really talented team. We all knew what we were capable of. We had such a good clubhouse. When something like that happens, it's like, well, you know, now we're thinking about that. We're not thinking about what do I need to do to get better. We're thinking about something that's not even baseball related. What I feel bad for is for the guys that are playing with that unwanted attention.
He's played in 15 games of spring training with 46 at-bats. He's knocked in 3 runs, has 1 stolen base. He's only walked 8% of the time. He's struck out 26% of the time already, with an average of .071. He's hitting nothing pretty much right now, and yet somehow is the Mariners organization's fault for his performance? A lot of you guys are going to get mad at me because you're big JK fans, but he didn't exactly leave on a good note for the M's. His OBP is a 152 and his slugging percentage is a matching .071. His WRC plus right now in spring training is -38. For you guys that are still upset about this whole Coward trade and Phillips, I mean, he's -38 WRC plus. I think we're okay, at least at this point. Now, talking about the Braves going into the playoffs, let's take a look back, and this is a very small sample size, so I understand. In 2022, the Mariners went to the playoffs and didn't make it very far, but in that time where they did play in the playoffs, he had 18 plate appearances, hit 1 run in, and struck out 38.9% of the time. His batting average is .18. His WRC plus in 2022 during the playoffs was -43. This is pretty much all identical and very similar to how he's been playing in spring training for the Braves. I don't know if it's just a big move and he's trying to get adjusted and trying to get settled. I don't want to be exactly too negative about this. I know I don't have any personal connection to this guy, and I actually wanted to be a fan of his, but after everything that's been going on and seeing how he's performing in Atlanta, in 2023, he seemed to be very good at hitting a fastball. The fastball was his go-to pitch. In Baseball Savant, his run value for four-seam fastball was a 7, which is very, very good. The rest of the pitches that are out there that are thrown to him, he's actually in the negatives. So look at the positive. Against the fastball last season, he batted a 311, which is what everybody's looking for. His slugging percentage was a 547, and his whiff percentage was a 27.4. Not exactly the best, and yet still his K rate was a 31.6% on the fastball. But the positive, 56.5% of the time, it was a hard hit. So that's where I was talking about his pop, his power, where he really shined, why he was a big name for the Mariners coming up in the system. This is what we were talking about. But then the rest of it pretty much goes downhill from there. Last season, against the slider, he had a -1 run value with a strikeout rate of 44.2%. Talk about a nemesis pitch against him. His batting average against it was a 254, but here is the kicker. The changeup seems to be his biggest loss. In 2022, it was a slider with a -5 value, but in 2023, the changeup killed him. He had a -7 run value, where the pitch was thrown to him 259 times, and his batting average is a 171. So there may be some sort of correlation here where teams are starting to look at the pitching that they're putting out there and who he's better or worse playing against, and they're seeing that the slider and the changeup are definitely hard for him to make contact with and get the ball going, and they might be emphasizing it here in spring training. Everybody knows that Seattle is the hardest stadium to hit. For batters, it's your biggest nemesis. If you come to Seattle, you're probably going to struggle. Seeing that he's going to the Braves, we're looking at those numbers, and it seems like he is probably projected to hit about the same. He's not going to a park where it's going to be significantly better for him to inflate his numbers, like if he were to go to Tampa Bay or go to the Rockies, where almost every single season he would have hit at least +2, 3, 4 home runs based on those parks alone. If I were the Braves, I'd be a little bit concerned, and I think they are. So what am I trying to get at? Well, let's just speed everything up and let's get to the point. As you guys know, just 5 days ago, the Braves signed Adam Duvall back to play from Boston, where he's going to be a platoon with Kelenic in left field. Why would I say that? Well, he is very similar to Kelenic with a little bit less strikeouts and a little bit better against right-handed batting. He signed a 1-year deal for $3 million, and we're just going to see what's going to happen since he's a 35-year-old and he's probably on his way out and past his prime versus Kelenic being 24 this season, and they're hoping that he can develop a little bit more and probably work on those slider and changeup contact. Duvall with Boston last season had 260 plate appearances against righties and only 93 plate appearances against lefties, but given that time where he batted against righties, he had a 248 batting average and a 244 batting average against lefties. So pretty on par as far as his average. He's able to make contact, but his power comes from righties. Last season, he had 18 of his home runs against right-handed pitchers, and only 3 of them came against left-handed pitchers. His range in the outfield is not that good. That's where Kelenic kind of comes in. He's very good defensively and has a pretty good glove, but the arm strength from Duvall is in the 76th percentile. Now, am I saying that Adam Duvall is better than Kelenic? Absolutely not at this point. I mean, if you look at his past years with Atlanta, he batted 267 when he first got there, 237 the year after, 223, 213. It keeps going down until last season he had a 247 in a park that is rated to be much better for batters and much easier to hit home runs and get on base. But I think that the Braves are a little bit worried about Kelenic, especially his performance in spring training, that they might want a platoon out there to give him breaks to work and really develop a little bit more in left field and also at the plate, and have somebody who's a veteran out there who can lead the way. Last season, Duvall had a WAR of 1.9. and Jarred Kelenic had a WAR of 1.3. So obviously there's a little bit more value just in that aspect alone to Adam Duvall. Duvall ended his season last year with 116 WRC plus. So he's looking pretty good on the bright side. At least they have a good platoon out there in left field, but I'm not exactly sure how Kelenic's going to feel about having to platoon his position, given probably most likely his performance in spring training has gotten the Braves very worried. So what do you guys think? Do you think maybe Jarred Kelenic's attitude and his antics on the field have maybe drawn up some some question marks as far as the Braves go. They're probably going to be okay with his attitude and everything he was saying and doing on the field, but then also figured that his bat was going to be complete enough and ready to go come opening day in 2024. At this point, I don't know how you guys feel about it. I bet you guys are positive if you're a Braves fan. If you're a Mariners fan, do you think this still was a bad trade? I think maybe we washed our hands clean of a contract that would have tore us down and held us back even more. And honestly, I'm happy with Luke Raley that's happening there. I think Adam Duvall probably is going to take over in left field for a majority of the season unless Kelenic can figure it out. I'm going to guess second half of the season, Kelenic will probably have a breakout year and really have a hot bat. Who knows what's going to happen? Right now, it's not looking so good. Giving you guys already, please like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.